Hi, I'm Al. Some people know me as Chad. I also go by the name of Shelley Vellante. My pronouns are he, him, his, she, her, hers, they, them. All pronouns are welcome in my world. Let me acknowledge the fact that we are on the ancestral unceded territories of the Musqueam, the Tsleil-Waututh, and Squamish nations. It is a privilege to be able to work. It is a privilege to be able to play. It is a privilege to be able to spread joy and enjoy the invite to this beautiful land. As a young lad, I knew that I was different. I knew that I was gay, for better sake of words. So I always imagined the comfort of a man over the comfort of women. I did marry. I did tell my wife I was gay before I married her, but our marriage didn't work out because we lost a child. So we kind of blamed each other for it and moved on to friendship for the children's sake. I moved away from home, and then I discovered my more feminine side, Shelley. So I identify as a her as well. In the gay community, it's common for all the queens to call each other she and her. But I recognize now with the non-binary coming in that labeling yourself they and them is okay. This way you hesitate to identify as he or she. Instead, you're both. As two-spirit, I'd like to say they and them represent both of who I am. That's a good question because, when people want to describe themselves, the first thing you want to do is bring out your merits. But then you don't want to brag. You want to be humble. If I was to describe myself, I would have to come up with fabulous, friendly, and fierce. And the reasons being is when I started believing in myself, I had a fabulous feeling of, wow, this is what it's like to be free. Friendly, I come from Manitoba, and that's our motto. We're all friendly Manitobans. And fierce, when you're pleased with what all you've done and you can see your achievements, you know you've done a very, very good job. So damn, that's fierce. All entities face themselves sooner or later. And I am very, very humbled and impressed immensely at how far the homosexual community has come out of their closet. Furthermore, I am so deeply moved as how young now the children are recognizing about their transgenderism and the fact that it's being more welcomed rather than being feared. You still can get your fear out of that against both, because these are people that refuse to try to learn the difference. I'm all for it. I'm all for it. Sign me up. It's very important. It's just like the Pride celebrations. It was very important. What started out to be a fight of recognition, now it's a celebration because we are being recognized. It's becoming more mainstream. And this is what the, communities need, is to be more mainstream. Everybody has that right to be themselves. Okay? We may not understand it, but it's important we learn. So I think it's a very, very important event and day to have. I always knew I was a homosexual. I always knew since I was a child. Okay? How I knew was I liked the company of other men. Okay? But I too was homophobic. I played that role so that my friends wouldn't think that I was. So I had to have that double life standard. Okay? I knew I wanted the guy I was playing around with. But I also had to push him away when it got too close in front of other people. So that was like the double-edged sword. You wanted that love to come to you. But at the same time, you had to push that love away to protect both parties. So it affected me greatly. I was bullied in school because, even in kindergarten and grade 1, I had one little girl. I remember this to this day when we were learning about sexualities, masculinity, femininity, and newt. Okay, she came up to me, and this is like a 6-year-old girl coming up to me and saying, "You're either feminine or you're a newt because you sure ain't masculine." And for a 6-year-old person to tell me that when I was that age, that made me question right then and there, is there something really wrong with me? So I had to learn how to embrace myself and accept myself first before I could even begin to try to explain to the world who I am. I came out of the closet when I was young, yes, because I accepted myself. But there are those that are still in the closet out there, struggling. And we shouldn't have to allow people to struggle. We should have to help them and say, no, you are not any different than anybody else. I think Harvey Firestein said it best in the movie Torch Song Trilogy. When he stood up to his mother and says, "Mother, I'm no different than you. I have a brain, I have a heart, 10 fingers, 10 toes. I can think, I can love, I can be happy. The only thing is now you know who I choose in my bed. Not even choose who I have in my bed. But to be quite honest with you, that's none of your damn business. Like, it's none of mine. Who's in yours?" And that's what separates us all, is because, is it our business who's in whose bed? I was afraid of, transgendered people as well, okay? Even as an adult, I didn't understand it, I had friended a transgender person, and we ended up having sex together, but I was confused. She was beautiful, but with respect to her as a being, what made me shudder was her chest was hairy. She had beautiful breasts, but her chest was hairy, and that confused me, and I became afraid. So I had to step back and learn a lot more than what I thought that I needed to know. And what I understand now is transgender people are just people who are living their lives. They don't need an explanation. They don't need to have an excuse or a reason. They just have to be allowed to be themselves. And I respect everyone who does. We've always believed it, back before pre-contact, okay? Two-spirit people, that's having the male spirit as well as the female spirit inside. The warrior of a brave and the compassion of a woman, okay? Together, being able to balance and support, okay? When the warriors went off to hunt, the two-spirit people were left behind to protect the women as well as help with the children. That was their role. They were revered as shamans. They were revered as very highly respected people because they had that ability to balance their warrior side as well as their feminine side. But when contact happened, we were taught to shame ourselves. It wasn't normal. It was against the Bible. We didn't even have a bloody Bible before contact. We believed that the great Creator gave us a land that we could live off of. We hunted, we fished, we skinned the trees for our clothing, etc. We learned how to live off of it. And then all of a sudden, all this machinery came in and took all that away by polluting our airs. So we have a very strong connection to homophobia because when they taught us, oh, that's wrong, that's wrong, that's wrong, that's wrong. Transphobia, were they afraid that our two-spirit were going to magically turn into women? No, it was their comfort, it was their style, it was their being. I can't say it's their being. Like when Shelley comes out to play, you don't see Al anymore. You don't see Chad anymore. You see Shelley, and Shelley's got an attitude. She loves to play with, everyone. but she's also demure. She's also very, well, I'm going to say well respected, because I've not had a problem bringing Shelley out. A lot of people come and say hi. A lot of people, tell me I look beautiful. So it's like, when I see that and feel that, I know we've come more of a way than I actually thought, because the respect is there. Like I said, I was bullied in school. We lived on a residential street close to the school, but there was a field that we had to cross. My friend lived over in the housing development across the field, and I was always right across the field to go visit him. And many a time I was told, be home before dark. Back then, once the street lights turned on, we went home. So in going home, many a times I'd get beat up on the way. They'd literally hide amongst the little rolling hills, and as soon as I got close by, I got jumped, and I could hear them yelling at me, "Fang it!" The whole bit. And it's like, I stood up and I took my beatings, and I just looked at them, and I just says, this isn't necessary. I don't hate you for doing what you don't understand. Okay? But one day you just might, and think about this day. Who knows, maybe their children ended up gay. Now they have to readjust their thinking. But I had never allowed myself to be shoved back to a closet when I knew I was okay just the way I am. We don't really understand what sexuality is, but when we know there's something that gives us a good feeling, looking at naked pictures. My brother would like to look at Playboy magazines. Not me. I like the Playgirl magazine. That's what, I felt comfortable watching it. I thought it was, the male body is something else to just look at. Just as much as a woman's breast. Okay? Well, a man's penis is just as glamorous in my eyes. Okay? My foster mother, bless her heart, told us a joke one day. The foster agency wants us to adopt another child. And we asked what we would call the child. And he says, well, we can call him Eeny, Meeny, Miny, but we will not call him Mo. And that's when it hit me. I gotta be careful. And I thought, nope, I gotta be strong. So when everything started compiling against homosexuality and the bullying, I wasn't afraid, because I knew who I am. It is quite amazing once you finally let go all of the hate and the anger and the confusion and, the fear. When you finally find that freedom in yourself, it's so much clearer, and the fear just dissipates. You see others fearing you, and you say, you have no fear to have. I'm not going to jump and do something inappropriate, just as I hope you're not going to do the same. We have to respect each other as human beings first. That's the bottom line. I turned 60 this year. I'm actually looking forward to my 61st year. And in all my years and what I've seen, the pioneers of pride, the pioneers of, the homosexual, as well as the new generation of transgender, we have come so far. And yet what really saddens me is how other countries are just starting to open their eyes now. Many of those that are persecuted just because they're in love with someone of the same gender, or need to be someone else. They say God makes no mistakes. Then why do we have wars? Why do we have crooked politicians? Those are God's creations. And you're not going to tell me those are mistakes? So what business is it of a person's orientation or how they identify that makes it God's business? It's their own first. You could be non-religious. I'm agnostic because I don't believe just one God is responsible. Look at the residential school system. You want to tell me to believe in a God then? We had a child who passed to crib death. You want to tell me there's a God that would allow that? Is it because I was gay that God took my son away? No, my son was sick. And crib death, they still don't have a response for it. I had to blame somebody, so I had to blame myself. And I moved forward from it. And 30 years after my son has passed, I'm still dealing with the hurt, the anger. I'm visiting a psychiatrist weekly just to be able to talk my feelings out and finally accept it. So I've still got a lot of work in me. And for what I see with our communities, the way we work with each other, with ourselves, doing it for ourselves, and standing up, bravo. Bravo. That's a loaded question because you can sit them down and you can tell them anything. But until they're willing to believe themselves for themselves, you can tell them anything and it's still going to take them a long time. Okay? I'd be more than happy to sit with anybody that's questioned and say, hey, you're no different than I am. Okay? Who you are, you have to believe is okay. I've never once, I think in our whole conversation today, ever said what we are, because I don't believe in that. I'm not labeled as a what. I'm labeled as a who because I am a person. Okay? And I reiterate, who I choose sexually is nobody's damn business but my own. And when we start identifying because of who we choose sexually, that's where we run into the problems and the extra grief we really don't need. Don't worry about what actions may happen. Worry about what happiness you can bring to yourself by accepting who you are. That's the bottom line. I mean, it took me years. It takes people years and years and years. Like I say, we have pioneers in our gay communities and, even in our transgender communities that are just opening their arms wide and saying, here world, here I am. Praise that person just for having that strength. Because when we see that strength, we say to ourselves, I can do it too. And that's pretty much what taught me is watching all these people, the gay movement, Stonewall for that matter, standing up and saying, no, we're not going to take this anymore. It's just a whole uplifting of yourself and saying, yes, I know I can. Yeah. Keep the pride alive. Keep the pride alive. Nobody's going to hold you up but yourself. They're going to more or less try to bring you down because they're scared of your strength and your power because you took yourself back. And furthermore, nobody has that right to have that power over you except yourself.